I'm Casey Viera. The biggest week for the Spurs in, dare I say, almost a decade. And of course, still coming with a little bit of caveat, the Oklahoma City Thunder coming through on deck.
This is Jeff Garcia, host of Locked On Spurs. And if you're thinking about getting a new Spurs Sochan jersey, you might want to rethink that.
And I'm Devin Brown. My hoplites are 5-1 in district, and we're going to be ready for the Christmas break.
This is Locked On Spurs Squad Show, the twice-a-week show where Spurs talk gets real. No filters, no fluff, just raw takes, sharp opinions, and straight-up passion for the game. The way only Locked On Podcast Network knows how. Let's drop some dimes and squad up. The Spurs Squad Show starts now.
That it does. In today's episode, brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, head on over to FanDuel.com. Place your NFL bets all season long. Happy holidays. Welcome into a Christmas week get-together of the Spurs Squad Show right here on Locked On Spurs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 podcast network in all of the land. The man in the middle, the host of the title pod, Jeff Garcia, NBA champion Devin Brown. I'm Casey Viera. A lot to hit on today because it's a monster week for your San Antonio Spurs with OKC, a pair of games on deck. Going to hit on that. Plus, Victor Wembanyama, some not great news today. We'll expand on that in our second segment going forward about the realistic cartoon character that is Bench Wemby, if you will. Plus, on the topic of the bench, that's where we find Jeremy Sochan. He's been for a couple of weeks now. What is that resolution going to be looking like? And then we give some gifts out to the San Antonio Spurs. I would say probably more so figurative as opposed to literal. But I can't speak for the other two. But what I can speak for is that we're excited around these parts because 2 games on deck Tuesday and of course Christmas on Thursday for San Antonio, a chance playing against the league best Thunder to continue to prove themselves in the Western Conference, entering Monday with the 2nd best record in the West, 3rd best in the league, and an opportunity to show, hey, we beat you once, we can beat you again. And we'll get answers for that this time tomorrow, at least in the immediacy. So, Jeff, you're hitting lead off tonight. For better or worse, what do the next 2 games, Tuesday and Thursday, prove to you?
What this team is made of. Are they real? Are they legit? Is the San Antonio Spurs going to be a threat, not just in the regular season, but in the postseason? Look, by now we all know the playoffs are back. That's going to happen. The 6-year drought is going to be over, right? All right, it's fine. But now we're going to really see if this team, as constructed, can face a Thunder team who's coming in PO'd. They're mad. You can tell they're mad. They want that second shot at San Antonio. So who's going to step up? We'll talk about Wemby in a bit, but he may or may not play. All right, fine. But this team has proven they can beat some big boys without him. I think that's what we're going to see. We're going to see what this Spurs team is made of, because imagine having to face the defending champs twice in a row. Not to mention just what in the last two weeks and ish. So, yeah, I think we're going to see this Spurs team ultimately. I'm going to say it. I think they're going to rise to the occasion, and I think the Spurs may shock the world again.
I would be remiss not to mention that about an hour before we got things going, the Spurs did announce that Victor Wembanyama is questionable for Tuesday's game with that left calf management. So we'll, Jeff alluded to it, but we'll obviously be keeping an eye on it all day Tuesday to see if that works out. Devin, what are you thinking? Because last night you and I think we kind of came to a middle ground that it's a chance for the Spurs to validate themselves in some respect, but it's also a chance that if things go wrong, that there might be a little bit of an uphill climb to face in terms of kind of garnering that respect back.
Well, here's the thing. San Antonio is looking forward to the game because it gives them another opportunity to get a game back on OKC. As far as OKC is concerned, they're playing, right now tonight at home against Memphis, and they're probably thinking, hey, let's run the score up on them in 3 quarters, rest in the 4th, and it's pretty much like they had a day off, right? So everything you guys are saying is great and good with the fact that OKC is going to be a different ball club that comes in here tomorrow night. So that's the San Antonio test that I've been waiting for as a Spurs fan, as a Spurs player, is when you know that that team is uh, upset. I got to keep my language good. Upset. How are you going to respond to when they come into your building? Because
Oh yeah.
remember, you embarrassed them, right? They thought they had a foul call in Vegas, so now they want to come to your home and beat you. So Casey, I'm looking forward to seeing a competitive Spurs team. You know what OKC is going to bring. I want to know if San Antonio is going to be ready for it.
I think the thing for me going into this is that they're massive games. I'm not saying anything we don't already know. We know the magnitude of it, but at the same time, barring the extremes of the Spurs winning both games convincingly or the Spurs losing both games convincingly, which I don't think either of the two are going to happen, I don't feel like we're ultimately going to learn or the end feeling that we do have about either of the two teams, the Spurs status in the West is going to change. Because if they split in two competitive games, the kind of sentiment will be that, all right, well, we know the Spurs are right there in the thick of the Western Conference. If the Spurs win two competitive games, I feel like, okay, they can compete in a 7-game series with these guys. And do we feel confident to say that they'll beat them? Depends on the circumstances, but probably not. If they lose both the games, with the exception, give you a second to marinate. Let me finish my thought, but I can see.
No, I wasn't. I can interrupt you. It was more for me, just to remind myself to say something later.
If they lose both the games, though, I don't think at the end of the day we're gonna go feeling like there's that gap really furthered between them and OKC, in my opinion, at least. So while a lot is kind of on the line, I think from a pride standpoint, from an overall, in my opinion, from an overall perception to their standing in the Western Conference, barring the extremes, which I don't think are going to happen, I don't know how much changes.
I understand they are the champs. I get that. They've been there. They've done that. They got a title. Way to go, OKC. But I don't think the gap is that big between these two teams. I don't think it's really that. You want to go talk depth? I think pound for pound, the Spurs can match them. You want to talk about big, tall guys that can do a lot of stuff on the court? They can match that at both sides. To me, it's just more the X factors that come down to these two teams. And I look at a guy like Mitch Johnson. I think for me, can he coach and get these guys to beat an OKC, not just tomorrow night or Christmas Day, but should these two teams clash in the postseason? I look at Castle. He's definitely getting up for them. He gets up for these big games. Harper, the stats show how much he loves these kind of close games. Wemby, Chet Holmgren, that rivalry, and he wanted to play in the Cup game versus OKC, and he played. So I think pound for pound on paper, these two teams aren't that close. Now look at the record. Yes, I get it. Thunder record is far better than the Spurs, but you got to give the Spurs somewhat a little bit of slack because they haven't really been healthy till maybe about now. All right. Now you got Wemby coming off the bench. There's a different lineup situation you got to deal with. But I think if this Spurs team started off strong, no injury, nothing, I think maybe there might be a few less L's on the Spurs side of the column and more W's on the side. And I think that 1 and 2 gap between Oklahoma City and the Spurs wouldn't be as vast right now.
What you got, Devin?
Here's how I'm looking at it. I mean, I look at, a lot of, people when they talk about Wemby and Chet. And I'm going to answer this from Wemby's side of it. When I look at Chet Holmgren and then I think about Wemby, I don't think they're on the same level. Like, you see some of the things that Wemby does the other night in Washington. He's dribbling up the court, he spins, he splits, and then he dunks it with two hands. Like, okay, well, Chet puts up some good numbers, but I don't know if he can do that, what Wemby does, right? So when you talk about this rivalry, and I know we just got that report about Wemby, if I'm Wemby, I got to start pulling some rank around here because if you're playing somebody else, you can sit me out fine. But when I see Thunder, I hear that name, I have to be out there. Now, we'll get into the starting and coming off the bench thing later, but I think Wemby. I don't know. I just have a feeling that he's going to play in both of these games, but that's just me, right? I'm just the
Yeah.
founders head coach. I mean, we're 5-1 in district. What do I know? But going back to answer your question, these guys are going to be ready. Castle's playing at a whole nother level right now. And guy Harper, what's Harper doing? And Barnes, it was good to see Sean
Fox,
Elliott
yeah.
happy about him again. And I haven't even mentioned Fox. I mean, this guy is the highest paid player on the team, and he's a dog, right? He's a killer. So the Spurs are just very depth, and their roster, yes, Jeff, is built for games like this.
Yeah. Well, Vegas has the odds right now. Thunder winning by 4. So Vegas is predicting another close game we saw during the Cup tournament. And I expect the same thing too. I expect, as the Spurs said, from Castle to Fox, they all said they're waiting for a dogfight. And it's not just that. The Thunder have been saying. As a matter of fact, I got the OKC coach's quote here about tomorrow night's game. And he says, he goes, it's elevated. He says there'll be a lot of attention to the game. There's a lot of noise around it. So you look at those phrases. I think both teams are going to are up for this game, and I'm expecting an instant classic, just as we saw during the Cup tournament.
Hey, Casey, can I answer Jeff real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
You said that Vegas had the Thunder winning that game by 4
for tomorrow night.
As a former player, we have to watch all you have to watch the bet stuff because
that's right.
Yeah, so
that wasn't
in the locker room.
Days,
in the locker room, we don't the players. I hope I won't be talking about that. I just hope they're ready to play.
I want to go back to the depth thing though, because I don't think, for me, if they meet in 7. In a 7-game series come April, whatever which way that they get there, presumably it'd probably be in a second round. Spurs end up in the 4-5, Oklahoma City the 1.
Yeah,
I don't think, like Jeff was saying, I don't think from a talent standpoint, I don't think the gap is that far off. I really don't. No. But I'm with him in that I think the inexperience standpoint is what separates the two of them. And it's not just a big gap. It's not just a little gap. It's a big gap in what it is. This team right now, it's going to change this year, but they haven't even finished over 500. And this is going up against an NBA champion. And the small glimpse that we had of these primetime games when things were going sour in crunch time, which was the Knicks and the Emirates Cup championship, the Spurs body language was terrible. After the Knicks got going in that fourth quarter, I mean, it looked like about 6 minutes left. I remember they came out of a timeout, 6 minutes left. And the body language on that team looked like they didn't know what hit them. And that type of thing is what scares me in a 7-game series, in the context of, will they be ready once that avalanche hits in crunch time? Once an Oklahoma City, situation like that we just saw right there, that avalanche hits and the Spurs are playing with a double-digit lead, and that's crumbling from 5 to 4 to 3 to 2. The other team takes the lead. The other team pulls away. What do you have left to come back and hit that counterpunch? Because what I saw in that Oklahoma City game and then what I saw in that Knicks game were two completely different things. Because OKC, they looked the part down the stretch right there. But that you felt like that was kind of like an underdog mindset, us battling back. But then in that Knicks game, holding the lead for majority of it and into the fourth quarter, and to see things spiral and them not really having an answer for a spiral like that, that concerned me a little bit in that primetime spot. So you put them side by side on paper in a 7-game series. Right. I really don't think there's that big of a gap, Jeff. But so I agree. But I'm weary right now about that experience thing.
Right. And that's where I mentioned those X factors are coming in. So not only I said Mitch, I think he's my biggest X factor, in whether it's tomorrow night or in a playoff series. But the other X factors need to kick in. Your championship proven players, Harrison Barnes, who's been there, done that, has a title. Your Luke Cornett's been there, done that. Even I know it was a very short, but Fox has some playoff experience with the Kings. It may not be a lot, but it's something. That's where you're going to have to rely on those kind of guys during this regular season and when they do make the postseason. So, I mean, just that's what I meant by those little things. They got to kick in. And one that is not a little thing that they have a lot of time to still correct, and you hit on it, Casey, is a bad X factor, and that is these leads that they cannot sustain. We saw it again versus the Wizards, a depleted team, and we blew what, a 20-something point lead? They blew it. And you have Fox after the game saying, hey, we cannot do this. He flat out said, he goes, we blew another 20-plus point lead.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff, Casey, let me say this also. It's the playoffs. If it does come down to where they meet either, first, second, third round, what's going to be important, and I think we should mention this, is if it's first round, they space those games out. If it's a Western Conference final, that's every other day. So if you catch the Thunder at the wrong time, they're playing well, Spurs are playing well, that could make for a very interesting series in a 7-game series, playing every other day, and that's why the Spurs are going to need their full roster.
It's really important that they stay in that 2-3 range because, in my opinion, you want to play keep away from the Thunder as long as you can. One, because they're the best team, but two, that's the most real. That, in my opinion, the best shot you have to beat the best team comes deeper in the postseason like that, because while you are wary from the first 2 rounds of the postseason yourself, so are they. And I think the longer you play keep away, the better shot that you have to beat them. So for me, it's paramount that they hang in that 2-3 range and they don't slip to 4 or 5. Go ahead, Jeff.
No. And I understand we're talking about the OKC Spurs tomorrow night. I understand that. That's the juicy game, not only for tomorrow, but on Christmas Day. I get it. But, I feel like this situation that where the team cannot, or us as well, we kind of get ahead of ourselves. I mean, this team hasn't proven they can beat Phoenix. This team,
Golden State.
This team has, at least for one game, showed they can go on the road and beat Denver, but Denver was not at full power.
No.
So, yeah, I mean, it'd be fun, to meet this OKC team in the postseason. But I still got to see how they deal with Phoenix. Phoenix has just trounced them for the first meeting and then took over in the second half of the second meeting. Golden State, and that's where, and I'm glad you brought up Golden State, Devin. That's a great point. And it goes back to what you said, Casey. That championship experience, that Golden State team had tons of it, a metric ton of it. The OKC Thunder have a good chunk of it. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, yeah, look how the Spurs team, we got a little sample already. Look how the Spurs team reacted to a battle-tested, championship-tested Golden State team, beat them back-to-back. That could be the big edge that the Thunder have.
We'll find out. One thing we do know, it's going to be a whole lot of fun Tuesday and Thursday, Christmas, and one of the bigger weeks that the Spurs have had in recent memory. We'll leave it at that. Certainly this early in the season. Going to be a lot of fun. It's also going to be a lot of fun speculating what we're going to see out of Victor Wembanyama. Coming up on the other side of the break, Mitch Johnson saying expect more of the same when it comes to the big guy in that bench role. So we'll hit on the bench Wemby side of things and a couple more things coming up in just a little bit on the Spurs Squad Show right here on Locked On Spurs. But before we do get to all that, let's talk about some of our friends that drive this program. One of those, as always, is Robinhood. Nobody knows your money goals better than you. Robinhood puts you in control of your money with tools that work as hard as you do. Locking in on every opening, beating your PR, and beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks, ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. And you can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, so expect more from your money. Get started today at robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. All right. Welcome back into the Spurs Squad Show right here on Locked On Spurs. As always, thank you for making us your first listen every day, whether it is the Squad Show or the title pod or the postcast. You're the one that the you're the reason why the Locked On Sports Podcast Network is the #1 sports podcast network. And if you haven't already, go check out our new Everydayer Club. It's access to an ad-free, among many other things. One of the perks, multiple of the perks, an ad-free audio feed of Locked On Spurs, compatible with wherever you get your podcast goodness, Apple, Spotify, wherever. You get things like an invite to a members-only Discord. We're Locked On Everyday Club Discord server, which includes a group chat for just the listeners of the show, for a few of the many things that you're going to want to get involved in. The best way to get there, you see it right there on your screen, Locked On Podcasts Everydayer/Everydayer. Or if you're looking directly for the Locked On Spurs route, which, realistic chance you probably are, it's Locked On Spurs supercast.com for the Everydayers Club. Highly recommend it. As we continue the conversation about your silver and black, bring in our good buddies here and have more of a conversation about the Victor Wembanyama side of things. Mitch Johnson, and this was following the win yesterday in Washington, saying that expect more of the same, at least in the immediate future, when it comes to Victor Wembanyama coming off the bench until the doctors give the green light that they can up that minutes load. This is going to be the plan. Big fella coming off the bench like he has the past 5 games, including the Emirates Cup championship. But as we mentioned at the top, word just come about that he's questionable for the first of the 2 Oklahoma City games that begin starting again on Tuesday. So, Devin, I know you have felt many of ways about this Victor thing coming off the bench, as have a lot of people. How long is this type of thing sustainable in your mind?
I got a couple questions for you.
Okay.
Who is the fans' favorite player? When you think of the San Antonio Spurs, who do you think of? And who sells the most jerseys on the team? Hey, listen, this nonsense better be over with now, okay? All those answers are Wemby, okay? Hey, look, let me tell you something. Hey, Mitch, there's plenty of coaching spots for you. Hey, you're playing with fire here, all right? We need Wemby on that court. I'm going to tell you why. When you look at the last 4 or 5 games, teams are attacking the paint on us, right? But when Wemby's presence is out there on that court, it changes. Washington, they start double clutching. They started firing from the outside. God bless Washington, but they're not, that's a very good AAU team right now. And so when you need Wemby on the court, he changes everything out there. So to answer your question, I hope that this little, what do we say, Casey, this cuteness, I hope this cuteness is going to wear off and Wemby gets back in that starting lineup.
I took a sip of my water off camera there for a second, and then just to be subtle about it, I almost ended up choking on the thing anyways with the Washington
Wizards.
They do a good job up there at Peach Jam. That's where all the EYBL teams play. It'd be really good out there.
There you go. Whatever works. Jeff, what are you thinking?
Wemby off the bench. I mean, are we surprised, Spurs fans? Are we surprised that this is what the Spurs approach currently is regarding their franchise player? I wonder if they would have Devin, you could answer this. Would Tim Duncan have been okay with this? You think Timmy would have been okay coming off the bench?
No. Because you have to turn the starters in 45 minutes before the game.
Yeah.
No. If Tim would have found out about that, no. To answer your question, no.
Exactly. So he is a different the Spurs are handling this franchise player a lot different than they have in their past. So no, I am not surprised at all. No, this is what they're going to do. This is what they're going to do. Look, the good news is that at least from Wemby's own words, his own mouth, that he agrees with it. He said that he's on board with it. But Casey, you love a good conspiracy. I know you do. Do you think there's more to this injury that he recently suffered than what they're letting on? The way they're handling this very, very carefully. I know the Spurs are going to spur, and we're seeing it, but this is on a different level.
It's funny you say that because I've been thinking about it, and I'm not trying to get too tinfoil hat here.
Yeah,
but this has become.
But isn't it interesting? This is like this. I've never seen them be this.
I to this extent. Yeah. You see it maybe once, twice, or a guy. Maybe initially with the when it was first introduced with the first OKC game, you thought it was kind of a level of gamesmanship too, because
Sure.
you're going in there trying to throw as many curveballs that you can at that monster Thunder team that's winning 16 games at a time. But the fact that it carried into the Knicks game, which again, kind of can ride under the same principle, if you will. I think that's kind of stretching the imagination.
Also, it was just a game that didn't count.
Yeah, so well, that's the thing against you found a good remedy and roll with that. But it does feel a little off. And it's tough to be overly critical of it when at the end of the day they're winning. And all these conversations would be completely different if they weren't winning these games. And as unorthodox as it is, you can't knock it when the numbers are ending on the right side of the ledger. I'll tag in. I see that. I see the point. I'll get to you, Devin.
Okay.
I'll let you know. No, but it's the math is weird on it. And I can think of the thought process that they had with the De'Aaron Fox ramp up, if you will, was the reason that it took so long with the hamstring was that they wanted to get him back in a position where they could throw him right in the fire and he could be playing 30 plus minutes a night just the second he stepped on the floor and made his return, which has pretty much been the case the entire time. Is this kind of another one of those just ramp up things that do we take it for what it is, that this is just the ramp up of what it is? And at that same thought, how long does this continue? Are we if you told us after the Oklahoma City game that this was still going to be happening on Tuesday, December 23rd, I would have said you're nuts. I thought it was fun for one night, but whatever. I don't know. To me, it does feel a little bit off, but as long as they're winning, you can't be overly critical of it. It's off though. It is. Go ahead, Devin. Sorry.
So you go Washington, right? You go Washington, Atlanta, Washington. All right.
Right.
On paper, in the game, you're better than those teams. I mean, these guys are scouting, those three teams, well enough to know that when you look at it, you go 1 through 10, these guys aren't going to beat us, right? When you're looking at their team. And I'm speaking of this when the Spurs are watching film on Washington, Atlanta, Washington. Okay, so it makes Coach Mitch look great when you're doing that against them. Well, the next game you saw when Victor went on the little heater in that third quarter, hitting back-to-back threes and then the little mid-range shot. They took him out with a minute to go. Well, he was still not on the floor when the Knicks were at the beginning of that huge run. Well, that's why I'm saying you can't continue to do this, because the good teams are going to exploit that. Just like the Knicks started pounding the paint, the Warriors are going to do that. Phoenix is going to do that. The Lakers are going to do that. They're going to continue to attack inside because they know when Victor's off the floor, and we all love Cornette, but they're not the same as far as a presence.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. It's going to get figured out. You catch teams off the first few times doing it, that slight adjustment, regardless of the way which way you get Victor out on the floor against Washington, a depleted Atlanta team, and then Washington again, you're going to have the talent to beat them. But yeah, like I agree. I think it's going to get figured out at some point, if not already on this first Oklahoma City game, Jeff.
Yeah, and to add a little bit more to the conspiracy tinfoil I had here, recall, was it a couple weeks ago maybe where the Spurs asked the media at a practice to not record Victor practicing?
He wasn't back, right? He wasn't back yet at that point. Yeah.
But my point is, you're just adding more. Like, what's going on? Like, I've rarely, and I've been to so many practices, even when Devin was playing, where they never really did that. But now they took this route. It's just interesting. Look, if they want to just make Wemby feel more comfortable, without cameras on him, well, fine. But it just feels like in this stretch, we have a lot of built-in excuses. The Cup game didn't count, fine. You're coming back from injury, off the bench, fine. Knicks game, again, fine. But out of the Thunder game, he's 50-50 right now, questionable. We don't know. So something's got to give. Either if he's going to stay in the bench for the rest of the season, I mean, that would be insane, right? I mean, wouldn't that be crazy?
It'd be crazy work, but honestly, I don't think it goes to that extent, but the fact and how confident Mitch said it when he was saying it, if you told me this went through the new year, I wouldn't think you're crazy.
What would it? Oh, that he's still come off the bench.
Yeah.
Man. This is, I mean,
let me just add this too. So in fairness, Jeff, Casey, in fairness, in the NBA, when you get on streaks like this, whether it's 4 games, 5 games, 16 games, whatever, coaches don't like to disrupt the lineups a whole lot, right? I understand that it is Wemby, but at the same time, that's why Mitch is saying some of the things that he's saying. We're playing well right now. The guys are responding to everything, whether Wemby, because we already know at the end of the day, Wemby's going to play high minutes. It's just that he's coming off the bench to do it. Well, because as a coach, you're rewarding the guys that have got you on this streak. So that goes on a lot in the NBA too.
Okay.
21 minutes, 25 minutes, 17 minutes, 21 minutes, 22 minutes. That's the 5 games so far, the minutes played, starting with the Oklahoma City game to the Washington game, the latter of the 2 Washington games. Listen, as long as they're winning, they're winning, the criticism is going to be what it is. It's going to be, it's weird. It's weird, but whatever works, right? But all it takes is Victor not playing in this first game and then coming off the bench and them losing on Thursday, and they lose both of these games, and the conversation turns to, all right, so what's the deal with Victor now? And that microscope now, and how many times have we said it? It's that everyone's pulling for Victor, but that spotlight, that magnifying glass gets bigger and bigger, and every time there's just the slightest level of skepticism, that's when people get talking. And if we're being honest, like, there is a level of skepticism right now with how things are done. And I'll be listen, I'm if this is the Embiid type plan that I've been hearing, I've been saying I'm for, all right, well, like, this is it, I'm cool with it then. Like, I'm cool with it. Like, if this is what it's going to be, because he's fresh in April, fresh in May, by some divinity, fresh in June. All right, fine.
Yeah, rock and roll. Yeah,
so be it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's Oklahoma City. It doesn't matter. Devin's got some company in there.
Yeah, Devin got a moth there. It's like his version of the bat in the frost.
Exactly.
Yeah. Hey, real quick too. Also too.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Also too. Again, we got to give Wemby a little slack as well, because he did have a recent loss in the family. He to the point where he did not do post-game chat after the Wizards game in Washington, and the Spurs said due to personal reasons, likely probably attending services. So he could still be dealing with that in the immediacy. So we gotta recognize that point as well, Casey.
No, it's true. Yeah, it's true. Devin, you get last word. Go for it.
No, if you get into the playoffs and you're playing a Phoenix or you're playing at LA, just think about this, guys. And you go 1-1 and you got to go to LA. It's not like Mitch is going to go, hey, remember the middle of the season when I brought Wemby off the bench? I get for game 3, let's use that game plan. No. Like I said, they're doing it right now, but in the end, we know Victor will be out there.
I'm willing to bank on that as well. All right, I'm not willing to bank on Jeremy Sochan being a long-term piece of this team, because it has not gone our colorful friends' way so far in 2025, 2026. So coming up on the other side of the break, what's next for Jeremy? We try to make the most of the Spurs' colorful character and put a bow on things by giving some figurative gifts for our friends in San Antonio, Silver and Black. But before we get in the merry ways, if you will, got to talk to you about our title sponsor tonight in FanDuel. As we know, NFL Sundays, they move fast. One big play, suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every single highlight moment. Live betting is really at its best when the game starts to shift, the receivers get hot, defenses tighten up, momentum flips, whatever it may be. But you know FanDuel's got you covered because they jump right into the moment. You have the live spreads and the money lines that adjust instantly with the game. The player props, they update as guys heat up. All I can think about is that Bears-Packers game from over the weekend. If you had interest in that, well, more to you. Hopefully you're on the winner's side of things. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL bets all season long. With FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. All right, welcome back into the Spurs Squad Show right here on Locked On Spurs. In case you're joining us for the first time, welcome. What are we? Well, we're a meeting of our two friends. Well, we're all three friends. Get together a couple times a week, usually Tuesday, Thursdays. The holidays getting in the way and changing things up a little bit. And we talk about San Antonio's silver and black, diverting from our usual program. Catch Jeff on the title pod every single day. Locked On Spurs, as you know, and Devin Brown and I after every single Spurs game on the Spurs Postcast right here on Locked On Spurs. Mr. Jeremy Sochan is what we're going to be talking about, because this time last year, he was showing up into Madison Square Garden dressed like the Grinch and hoping he was going to go into MSG and steal Christmas. Didn't work out that way. Now, San Antonio's dear friend, San Antonio's colorful character, not even finding time in the rotation, career lows in just about every notable stat, from minutes to points to rebounds, and has essentially become a nightly DNP under Mitch Johnson at this point. Jeff, I know you feel away. You've done multiple shows on this, and we've talked about it at length. It feels like the more we've talked about it, the news has gotten increasingly grimmer that Jeremy Sochan's not a long-term piece of the puzzle, and it even more so even feels like that right now.
It really does. And I texted you during the Washington game. I was like, man, was this a nail in the coffin? How do you not get run in Washington? How do you not get run in Washington? You know, again, up at least at one point, 20 plus points, and he was still nailed to the bench. So it just feels like we might be looking at the last days of Sochan in silver and black. Now, Devin, you did bring up a good point. This could be a situation where you said NBA coaches don't want to disrupt the rotation if it got a good thing going. What if it's that? But, I mean, for a guy who was considered a key piece of this rebuild, a foundational piece. We heard that term thrown out when it came to Sochan. It feels like he's now just not even on the radar anymore. I mean, maybe the Spurs see a little bit more from Carter Bryant. I mean, who tends to get a little more minutes first between Carter Bryant and Sochan nowadays? It's Carter Bryant.
Feels like Carter Bryant.
Yeah, it's not Sochan. So, yeah, I mean, look, if you're the Spurs, you do this, you do him a solid, you know, get the best deal for him, send him to the best spot where he can have a chance of success. It's not his fault. He came into the season injured. The Spurs are rolling right now, 6 games in a row, something they haven't done since mid 2000s. So yeah, I mean, I just think that it just, for me, man, Devin, it was in that Washington game. You're up 20 something points and you still didn't get burned. And Carter Bryant got in there, and my goodness, you know, Devin, I want to ask you this. It kind of relates to this. You've you played with so many teams. When you look at Sochan's situation, does it kind of raise a red flag for you, saying like, nah, he's gone? Or is this something like, no, he's just a victim of a rotation right now?
No, it's a little bit of both. So, you know, it's funny because, yeah, you've seen this from different guys. And I don't want to, you know, blow you guys out of the water by what it is I'm getting ready to say. But I have been on teams where teams have been up 20 and they've gone and asked a player in his situation, hey, let's go. And the player goes, I'm not going out there right now. And that's when you really get in depth with, oh, yeah, this is the NBA. Like, guys feel embarrassed. And this is what I think about Jeremy. Jeremy started in this league. He's had success in this league. But here's the deal. When he first got here, who was the coach? Pop.
Mm-hmm.
There was a coaching change.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest things you always see in whatever sport it is, when there's a coaching change, that coach, if for some reason that new coach always has this one thing that they do that's different from the other deal. So if it was going to be one thing that Mitch did, being that Sochan was a Pop guy, here you go right here. This is it right here. So that's what we're seeing. If I'm Jeremy, first one there, last one to leave. That's the advice that I have for him. Now, I do give him credit because nothing has been done with him yet, meaning he's not causing a distraction in that locker room. San Antonio Spurs aren't going to put up with that. They never have. They never will. If he was causing a distraction, he'd have been gone in one shape or the other. But he must be doing a good job of being a teammate. Obviously I don't have that information, but for him to be going through this and still here, he's doing something right in that locker room.
It's interesting, the Mitch side of things, because comparatively speaking to the loyalty that Pop had in Sochan, Pop had a lot of loyalty to Sochan, to the point that you think back to Victor's rookie year, they were essentially prioritizing Sochan's time at point guard, that experiment, over Victor, because you don't have that you don't do all that with that generational talent on the other side. Like, you prioritize the generational talent, and whatever works along the way, you find something. But it got to the point, I remember, it was some of the most remedial stuff. It was just giving Victor the ball. It was just a matter of getting Victor the ball. That stuff wasn't happening. And it was just a byproduct of them being overly loyal to Sochan. And Pop from the jump. And I think what made a lot of people confused, it's not like Sochan at the time was someone who had been here 15, 20 years, Sochan had been in the league 20 minutes. He got here a year before Wemby. And so that really spoke to the confidence that Pop had in them, and upstairs to the loyalty that they had. But you bring up a great point, Devin, in that while Mitch is to some the same, in my opinion, things like this show that he's very different. And from the jump this season, whether it had been the injury, whether it had been schematics, whether it had been just the fact that it has been a regression for Jeremy. Mitch and Jeremy Sochan have not been on the same page this year. They have not. And as a result, Jeremy's fallen out of the rotation. Again, it goes back to if they're winning, and as long as they're winning games, there's not much Jeremy can do except sit there and watch. But now, Jeff, I'm kind of like, is that probably their most realistic trade asset that they do have?
As of right now, yeah.
Because I don't think they're moving. They're not. The Giannis thing looking like it's done. So you take the Castle out of it, and the Harper and all that. I don't think they're moving off Fox, or I don't think they're moving off Keldon. I don't think they're moving off Vassell, realistically, unless the marketing thing becomes more in play. Sochan's probably their most realistic trade asset, I'd probably say.
No, I'm with you. And we have a comment in the chat right now from at Joe and God1, going back to Popovich. Pop putting him at point guard destroyed his image. I mean, I get what he's trying to, the commentator is trying to say right now, but as an NBA player, Devin, don't you have a short memory? So if anything did impact Sochan mentally, shouldn't he been relieved? Like, oh, thank God, I'm not point guard anymore. All right, let's move on. This is great. I can be myself now.
So just a little insight how Pop, was coaching Sochan was this. Jeremy Sochan and Pop's eyes can do a little bit of everything. Okay. Now, when you're a player that's like a Jeremy Sochan, when you're a player like a Devin Brown, he's going to do everything that he can to get you on the floor. All right. The reason why this relates to me is I'm 6'5", 6'4", but 6'5" for financial purposes.
Of course.
And a lot of times I was playing the 4 position against a healthy Phoenix team, guarding Amari Stoudemire to keep Tim out of foul trouble. And Amari Stoudemire was really good at basketball at that time. So I get, it's just that, Pop needed me on the floor like he needed Jeremy Sochan on the floor. So it plays to Pop's like, listen, you're really good. Hey, we got these wing players. Let's put you at the point. You know, I can't put you at the 5. Let's put you at the point. So that's why Pop used Jeremy in that situation.
Yeah.
19 games played so far this year. 15, shade under 15 minutes a night. 5.5 points, 3 rebounds.
Yeah.
Assists, 1 assist, 49% from the field. I mean, but I mean, in many respects, guys, like you look at it, that we should have probably saw this coming this time last year, because just looking at the rotation, what it was, I knew he missed a reasonable amount of time due to injury, only played 54 games. I did not realize he only started 23 of those games. So I think the writing was kind of on the wall when Mitch took over this time last year. Well, I guess a little bit earlier. And then you factor in the Cornette side of things, you factor in the Carter Bryant side of things. It makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah, I think the only way it can be salvaged at this point is, and you don't knock on wood, it doesn't happen, but if there's an injury bug hits the team, or man, unless he goes to Mitch and say like, "Hey man, what's up? You know, if you're not going to play me, you know, I love my time here, but maybe get me somewhere where I can thrive." And even what's not even helping himself, Casey, is that when he gets out there, you're at the numbers right now, it's kind of minimal impact, right?
It is.
Yeah,
it is. But I think what's even more concerning with him, and I always go back to, like, if we can see it, they can see it. He doesn't look engaged in those minutes. He doesn't look present in those minutes, and he doesn't.
And that's a big problem, Casey.
And that's the big, in my opinion, that's why things haven't changed. That's why we haven't seen, it hasn't been for a lack of opportunity. Freaking Wemby has missed a month. Like, the opportunity was there for him to find himself as a focal point in the rotation, and it wasn't there. I mean, Cornette went through a stretch at the start of the season where he, what was it, about 2 weeks, 3 weeks that Cornette missed with the ankle and the shoulder. Jeremy didn't pull away there neither. So it's not like it's a matter of a lack of opportunity. It just, he hasn't taken advantage of it. And
so
go ahead.
Okay, I don't know who this came from. I don't want to get the name wrong. I'll just say this, and all the players know it. There's a media present that goes in after basketball games. Listen, if you're headed out the door after a game before the media, or when the media is walking in there, that means you're disengaged from the team. That means you're going to put yourself in an even worse spot. So that's why I said first one there, last one to leave. Hey, you gotta chat it up with your teammates. You gotta, hey, listen, because look, you're gonna be in the car. I'm gonna be in the car in about 40 minutes. But right now, I'm gonna show you that I want to be here. I can't have that attitude. I can cuss myself on the way home, but when I'm in that locker room, I'm engaged with everybody. Hey, it could be 2 guys playing in front of me, but I'm like, hey man, good job, man. Yeah. Hey, it lasted. How many years did Patty Mills play in this league with that towel?
A long time.
A long time.
Yeah.
This is the NBA. Listen, I should have had this conversation with not only myself but other players a long time ago. You gotta. Life is good. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
The most memorable moment I can think of Sochan for this season was when he stepped in to protect Wemby from Draymond Green, and that's only been it. And I don't remember any since then. I mean, that's what I'm trying to get. My point is how minimal impact it's been for Sochan. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, you know, I've always asked this on Locked On Spurs, Devin. I'll ask you and Casey: buy or sell? He finishes the season as a Spur. What do you think?
No. My answer is no, Casey.
No, so.
Yeah, so. Yeah,
so I don't think so. Because even if it's a smaller move, I think there's still a market for Jeremy, and I do think he is a victim of the rotation. And I'm just trying to think like something that realistically could make sense. And something off the top of my head is Gershon Yabusele hasn't been getting a whole lot the minutes that he thought with the Knicks. And obviously that's one of Victor's best friends or you know, French teammates. And so I think it's just the only real way I think, you know, you get any kind of notable something out of it is it probably, and I'm kind of contradicting what I said earlier, but if you find another player in a similar situation right now on another roster, and you can essentially do a swap for that, two guys that just kind of need a little bit of a fresh start. That's one that just like pops to mind, because like the Knicks, probably could use a little bit more length, and that's probably the last thing that the Knicks are lacking right now. And then on the other side of things, you're not going to complain if you're the Spurs about getting more of one of these people in the building, something small, but a veteran on the bench is, we always go back to, that can be very consequential. And I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to something like that. Like I said, that's just one that just popped off the top of my head. I don't know. What I do know is that it's going to bring an end, theoretically, to hypothetically, I should say, was a very, one of the truly unique kind of, do we even call him a project player? I feel like that's kind of setting experiments players.
Yeah.
Because I can't remember the last time they took a guy like this high in the lottery, top 10 pick, and never really found tried so many different ways to make it work, and it just never worked, to literally almost put him at every single position on the floor, and it just never really happened.
Man, I wanted to say Luka Samanic.
Man, you want to talk about bad attitude? That guy got himself out of here. If that is the end of Jeremy Sochan in San Antonio, or if that is the end on the horizon, that would mean the 2022 class was not one of the better ones for the Spurs, between Malachi Branham, Blake Wesley, those 3 first round. In fairness, if you want to cancel out one of Branham and Wesley because they picked up Champagny as an undrafted free agent there, you cancel one of the two out, fine. And I guess kind of what we always go back to is, if had they hit on that draft and they would have taken Şengün, then Wemby's not a realistic option in all likelihood. But anyways, Devin, go ahead. You got last word.
Well, I was trying to come up with a player in my mind, but I'm going to date myself. Ume Blob. Yeah, you guys remember him. He played here. I
remember him. Yeah.
Never really worked out either. Tried him at the 4 and the 5 position, but that was a young Timmy. So Ume Blob. Dave Robinson, too. So that was my answer to you, Casey, was Ume Blob.
Jeff, any last one?
I thought I never heard Luka Samanic and Uwe Blob in the same show.
I know.
First of all, but no. Look, I hope it works out for Sochan. Do I want him going out of San Antonio? No, I don't. But it just feels like you're in a relationship and you're like, you know what? We're kind of distant now. Maybe it's best you go that way, I go this way, and we're all good. I don't think there'll be any burned bridges, no hard feelings. And he'll get his video tribute whenever he comes back. But that could benefit. And you're right. A guy like Yabusele would work great in San Antonio. Another big. I guess that's kind of the weakest point they have right now, is just more bigs. But no more colorful hair anymore if that happens. Oh no, Casey, you can't dye your hair now. Maybe you should pick up his slack.
No, I mean, if I'm dyeing if there's anything I discovered being salt and pepper, I needed to hop on this early, because like if I just showed up now on this show one day and I just went all the way dark, I mean, I get called out for that so fast.
Listen, I have to maintain my gray because I put the shampoo that kind of covers up the gray.
Yeah.
But if I don't, oh my God, I will have that jet silver. That's all I would have. You know how I knew? During the pandemic, I couldn't, I was like, whatever. I didn't care. No haircut. And then I remember waking up one day, looking in the mirror. I said, oh my God, I'm my grandfather now. Just straight silver hair.
Well, see, now that's good, because now with Christmas coming up, I know what to give you.
There you go. Good segue. Good segue.
Very clean segue into how we're going to put a bow on this thing. Coming up on the other side after a very quick break here, we'll talk about some of the gifts that we're going to be giving San Antonio's silver and black, and maybe a little bit more, given that we're very much in the holiday spirit right here on the Spurs Squad Show. Coming up on the other side of the break, right here on Locked On Spurs. All right. So, which one of you fellas wants to spread the holiday cheer first?
So what are we doing here? So basically, Let's see. I'm gonna look at the handy dandy rundown that our host sent us. So let's see. Some Christmas gifts you would love to give to Spurs. Like, all right. I'd love to give Jeremy Sochan a new address. How's that? A new address, a clean slate, as Casey, you mentioned. I think this is best for him, best for the Spurs. And hey, the Spurs can get up like a Yabusele or, oh my God, draft picks. You do it. And that's what I love to give Sochan, a fresh start.
Mr. Devin Brown, what are you thinking?
I don't know. I'm scaring myself by what I'm about to say. I don't know.
Can I give Mitch Johnson a gift?
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
Go
I'd love to give him the gift of a new assistant coach named Devin Brown. How about that?
Listen, man, the hoplites, we're right in the thick of it.
The hoplites are, we're 5-1 in district. I'll return their call. Just give me a couple of days. But no, I want to give the Spurs credit, for how they've started off, before Christmas. And I guess as a Christmas gift, give them the ability to finish this season out. I think the city of San Antonio is very excited about this basketball team. Wemby, as long as Wemby stays healthy and some of the other key guys stay healthy, I think this is going to be a fantastic year. So my gift to the San Antonio Spurs is maintaining that competitiveness and finishing off the season.
I have a gift for De'Aaron Fox. And the gift that I'm going to give him is one that's he's earned a lot himself. So I think it's only fair, as someone who has been on this program and has talked about his skepticism at times of things, I'm giving Fox the gift of grace, because De'Aaron Fox has played really well since that Warriors debacle, like a month and a half now. He has played really, really well. I'm giving him the gift of grace for the rest of the regular season because he's earned it and a little bit more. Yeah. But that gift does kind of have an expiration date come April. And
it's like eggnog.
Right. It's like eggnog. Yeah. Yeah. The gift expires the last week of April. No. The start of that. No. The week before that. April, we'll do it at the start of the month. It's good through April 1st. Good through April 1st, because those
no April Fool's jokes though. No April Fool's jokes.
No joke. Yeah, no jokes. So I have the gift of grace for De'Aaron Fox because he's earned it.
And I'm glad you mentioned grace. I'm glad you mentioned grace, because he was very graceful after the win versus Washington, where he said he doesn't want to be seen just as a scorer. Mm-hmm. He said he wants to start impacting the game in different ways now. So I thought that was very good.
Nice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We'll find out. What I do know is that the Spurs have a very interesting week coming up in the next few days. Obviously, Oklahoma City Tuesday, Christmas Day, Thursday, and then the Jazz on Saturday, a 3-game week on deck. We have a couple more minutes, usually, because we're not going to see each other because of the holiday. What's one thing that you guys want to see each real quick from them?
From the Spurs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Until we get together this time next week.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. How about going 3-0 in the regular season versus the Thunder?
That would be a great Christmas gift. I just want to see some competitive basketball. Don't let OKC come in here and have their way. And then go to OKC and put up a fight like they've been doing.
I want to see another Dylan Harper takeover type of game on national TV, because he's played really well in these national TV games. He played terrible against Washington the other day, but these national spotlight games, the Dylan Harper side of things, he's looked fantastic. And with the opportunity presented itself, Christmas Day, everybody watching, I'm keeping an eye on that. And keeping an eye, you guys at home, you should be keeping an eye on what we got on deck here at Locked On Spurs, because we are not going anywhere during the holiday break, obviously, because there's a game on Christmas. Tomorrow, Tuesday, or when you're catching this tonight, Tuesday night, Devin and I, well, first, as always, Jeff will have you covered on the day-to-day, the title pod, and Devin and I will be right back there with you on the postcast talking about however Spurs Thunder goes down. And come Christmas Day, Devin and I will be right there with you too. We're not taking any days off given the magnitude of the game. And for better or worse, we'll have a conversation about two of the bigger in-season games that we've had in recent memory with this San Antonio Spurs team, and a lot of engagement, a lot of excitement that you guys have offered us, like you always do here, regardless of our programs. The Squad Show, the Title Pod, the Postcast, you guys are the ones who drive this program, and the reason that we love what we do, and the Locked On Podcast Network is the #1 sports podcast network. So I think that's a good place to leave it, guys. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Jeff. Merry Christmas,
Merry
Casey.
Christmas, guys. Yep. Merry Christmas,
we'll,
fellas.
we'll talk until then, but in the spirit of holiday cheer, I hope you guys both enjoy such. I've very much enjoyed the past few months doing this program with you, and looking forward to whatever gift comes on the other side of the holiday when we meet again this time next week. So for my dear friends, Mr. NBA champion Devin Brown, host of the Title Pod, Jeff Garcia, the man in the middle, I'm Casey Viera. Everybody have a nice night. Maybe see you at the game tomorrow for Spurs Thunder at the Frostbank Center.